Good afternoon, everyone. I sort of made some notes, but I've also got a few thoughts as well. Not everyone will know David Saunders, I'm sure about that. But he was the first warden of Skoma, appointed in 1960. And I got to know David in 1962 when I was a bit younger. And David's principal job as a warden at that time was shooting great blackback gulls. And he had a rifle on the island, and the idea was that they were killing lots of great blackback gulls, lots of Manx shearwaters, and perhaps limiting the population. So that was the way of controlling great blackback gulls. The gulls rapidly got to know that as soon as he walked out of the house with a gun, the gulls buggered off. But he introduced me to seabirds. He introduced me, the first introduction was in the rabbit hunter's hut, which is now became the assistant warden's hut. And there were Manx shearwaters underneath the floor, so you got no sleep whatsoever, but you learnt a lot about Manx shearwaters. And really, he enthused me into seabirds. So I've had like 60 years or thereabouts of messing about with seabirds. And when David left the island after 7 years, he became the sort of chief organiser of the very first UK-wide Operation Seafarer, the count of seabirds all the way around the British coast. And if you think about that today, it's done with a computer and emails and everything else. And in those days, he had to write letters to everybody, use the telephone, persuade them all to go out on the cliffs and count the seabirds, and had to give them a methodology. So David was very instrumental in developing a methodology for counting all our seabirds. And his book, The Seabirds of Britain and Ireland, which was 1976, I think, is probably one of the most referred to books for seabird biologists today. They'll all look back at those early counts to see what's changed. And Tim earlier showed you some graphs of what changed of guillemots on Skoma. And of course, the fact that you've got other islands where seabirds aren't doing so well, as our West Wales West Wales islands, is we wouldn't know unless those early seabird counts had been done. Anyway, David, having left the island, for a short time helped with the local coast guards, and then he became the director of the David Wildlife Trust. It was an interesting time because basically it was a coup, and he went to an annual general meeting when a chap called Dilwyn Miles was the secretary of the Wildlife Trust, and David was nominated by the membership to be the director, and there wasn't a post of that nature in being at the time, so the board at the time very rapidly had to adjust all sorts of things to make sure that David became the first proper director of the Wildlife Trust. In those days there were 2,500 people, and David and part-time secretary. So it's changed a lot. And all of the islands were supported by volunteers. There were no paid staff at all on the mainland helping with anything. The shopping was done for Skoko by volunteers. All of the materials going to Skoko were done by volunteers. It's very, very different today. But later on, I was running an oil distribution company, and I spent a lot of time with David in his office, talking about all sorts of things, principally about how to manage the Wildlife Trust at the time. And things have changed over the period of time. It's become a professional body. You've got people all over South Wales now. And this man kept in touch with everything. He became a real thorn in the side of anybody who printed anything. So every sort of article that was ever written, David would have a comment about it. He would send me emails on a regular basis, almost weekly. I am apoplectic, or this is disgusting, or why can't they do it properly, etc. And he had this critical approach to anything written, and he did write his own books as well, but the best one was called The New Naturalist Pembrokeshire. And his critical appraisal of that ran to nearly 20 pages, and concluded with the comment, "This book should be withdrawn, it is appalling." And it truly is appalling. There's lots of errors in it. So life's not quite the same without David, I don't think. Even a week before he died, but quite suddenly, he was asking me about the seabird populations on Skomer, and he was also asking about the situation of the gannets on Grasshome, where we've lost more than 50% of the gannets on Grasshome, from 36,000 pairs down to 16,000 as a result of the bird flu in 2022. So his interest in the seabirds continued right until the very end. And yeah, we'll miss him. Yeah, life won't be quite the same without him. My email's a hell of a lot quieter.